keep it off the record, consequently you can keep your record clear. And if you mute the speech that shakes your frail beliefs, you only seek to insulate your image and continue down the stream in the direction clout and credit steers. Directly from your mouth into am I the asshole Reddit's ears. Directly back into the greasy pockets of some Gates Foundation financiers. And then directly back into the frantic final thoughts of early trial Neuralink volunteers, staring at the numb and mumbling vacancies where recently had been their peers. Half of whom are glitching with the memory stuck on pause, and half have zero fucking clue just who they are or why they're here. It's been said that fear is all we have to fear, but that was back before the Basosphere condenser came along, distilling concentrated fear that's diamond pure, crystal clear, oppressor strong, and woven into every single article you read and song they let you hear. And then Elon heard that Jeff enhanced our fears by 86%, and he said, hold my beer. And not a single sheep among the herd would turn their head or say a word, cause they were all too busy begging for the shears, begging for the muzzle, happy just to guzzle, feed, and watch a screen for all their years. Man, to each his own, can't afford a home, but they'll let you have your cozy little ecosphere. Where there among your own devices you can break the seventh seal, overthrow the oracles and slay the seer. All the tomes were burned and all the lips were seared. Shut your eyes and all our lives just disappear. Now blink 'em twice. Welcome to your ecosphere.
If you thought you saw your freedom, it was truly a mirage. Freedom's locked a cell away from Julian Assange. Our First Amendment rights are by his side behind bars, and the next voices silenced will be ours. Rest assured, democracy is rotting in the dark. Rest assured, we vilified dissenters, pushed out black renters, and tore down their housing just to build a little urban park. God, I tell you, old America really knows how to leave its mark. Blaze a trail, leave 100 scars. Rip your free speech out your throat, demonize the man who told you it was so, and leave him freezing in a cell in Belmarsh, perpetually awaiting extradition, thrown to the wolves of claustrophobia and malnutrition. And all that we can hope is that we catch Uncle Joe in a fleeting lucid moment of his flickering senile fascist mission. That maybe we could trick him into thinking Julian is just some sweet blonde middle school Christian, and she got stuck with a few bad apples, slapped with some charges, and thrown into prison. Joe would set him free without a moment's hesitation under one condition: that he can sniff her hair before she goes back to school and he goes back to business. But if Joe's just had his shots, then we haven't got a chance of getting past his black and white vision, getting past his gut reaction to appease all of his donors' sick requests and shape policy and law around corporate mandated decisions. So really, all along, I think Julian was one man standing in a tempest with the fearlessness of true conviction. And if his is the only conviction we see after he shed a light on this country's most poisonous schemes all come to fruition, and we all collectively stare at the ground because we felt like our hands were too tied beyond signing petitions, while he's tortured to death for attempting to warn and enlighten admittedly not quite the brightest of citizens, and half of this country just won't take the time to uncover the truth, or they just don't mind, so they're quick to dismiss it and say it's a difficult position. Then we're back to the comfort of centrist delusion. We're right back to sleep for those ignorant sheep who resisted themselves into one protracted contusion, twisting themselves into knots to correct all your stimulus check-based confusion, wrapping their necks around their backs as they justify overflow migrant detention or fracking pollution. Then Kamala laughs, and the camera pans down to her shoes. And that footage is 90% of your 6 o'clock news. Except for a feel-good story about a man who at 95 years young just made Employee of the Month at Whole Foods. And the $50 gift card means this month he'll afford his prescriptions and meals, and he won't have to choose. This is the machine that a man named Julian Assange threw his body on the gears of for you. So to cry out for his freedom is the least that we can do. Now best believe the feds will serve to muddy up the truth, but rest assured the temperature in Belmarsh is an icy 22, and Julian is shivering in a solitary room without a view. Rest assured Obama loves a whistleblower just about as much as he loves weddings where he doesn't get to detonate the groom. Rest assured Obama bought the plot where all our First Amendment rights are gonna rot and demanded that they carve his smiling likeness on the tomb. So that when you come to pay respects to your free speech rights and a somber feeling hits you and you look up to the sky, the answer will be staring you right in the eyes to the questions of why and of who. So if you thought you saw your freedom, then they wanted you to. Human rights are mutable, and Julian is proof. Our First Amendment rights are stuck in solitary too. And the next voice silent might be you.
They'll gladly pay you by the hour for a minute or so, so you can sign off on the towers where they'll piss on your home. And if you feel like you're just powerless to answer them no, it's 'cause you are. They'll gladly pay you by the hour for a minute or so, so you can sign off on the towers where they'll piss on your home. And if you feel like you're just powerless to answer them no, it's 'cause you are. It's 'cause you are. They'll gladly stagnate a living wage, snap the chains, bury it. Labor slaves in rusty cages dragged behind a chariot, led by Mr. Racial Jungle, Joseph or Iscariot, fighting over scraps as they barrage us all with variants and BuzzFeed clickbait, straight until we're paralyzed, trying to distract us from the concentration camps that Joe had swore he'd close but only chose to amplify, where they got 50-something kids in cages made for 5 to occupy. And no, she hasn't seen the camps, but Harris swears they're paradise. She tells us the facilities are safe, and that right down to the women, they are regularly sterilized. Then she throws her head back and she proceeds to laugh, that sort of heartless cackle you'd expect from someone working steadfastly on behalf of the virus and a Congress full of parasites. And where was I? I was busy cashing every blue check, demonstrating plainly all the narratives expected from the verified. I was busy breeding verbal leeches by the terabyte. Train them to exsanguinate the wealthy while they sleep at night. Bleed the oil dry and bare and say they showed us how to share and now we share alike. Tell them I contracted rabies from a feral mike. Now I'm just another species losing sleep to noise pollution and these glaring lights, forced to change its habits and adapt to just survive. But now it's safe to say that some of us are thriving in the moment, throwing shit on presidential homes beneath the Paris skies. So if you feel like you're just powerless, I guess you bought the lie. But I can tell they're petrified of our collective might, 'cause I can hear those gentrifiers weeping at the sight of our collective rights. And I only can imagine the intensifying fear of knowing revolution's near, and all that's left to do is simply wallow in the thick anticipation of a rabid bite. And baby, one day you can ask your leaders just what that was like before you grab a slice. So if you think you're powerless, allow me now to change your mind. Honey, if you think you're powerless, allow me now to change your mind. See, they'll pay you hourly tax them each apart, and build a shining tower out of loopholes and cards, and tell you that you're powerless to keep you in the dark, because you aren't, because we aren't. You see, they'll pay you hourly, tax them each apart, and make you build a shining tower out of loopholes and cards, where they'll tell you that you're powerless to keep you in the dark, because you aren't, because we aren't.
Legend says that Hercules swept Cerberus right off his feet and effortlessly set him down softly as a songbird. Atlas kept the world upon his back and every day wondered whether he could stand it any longer. And Tara Reid came out to say the man they tried to label the Messiah of morality was really just another rapist. And I don't intend to hesitate when asked who was the stronger. Tara, like Assange, knew that carrying the truth would be the hardest labor. Tara knew that her assailant wasn't gonna make us any safer, and knew he's just the type of man to hand a decent foreign leader US printed walking papers, and knew he'd be relentless and aggressive in the war he'd wage upon her very character, that his attempts to weaken and degrade and embarrass her would be her only compensation. But I strongly doubt that anyone could ever have foreseen the stream of hate that came from quote-unquote progressives and the self-styled titans of survivor advocation. So if you really think there's something to be gained out of sharing your pain with the world, you are sorely mistaken. The Biden team just dragged their feet addressing Tara's allegations. Until they had a decent list of smears, then they aired them out on every station. And it turns out no one wants to hear the truth of who they praised as being worthy of such bloated liberal celebration. That no one wants to really know the person they've so valiantly defended, even when it meant they had to gloat and shit all over someone braver than they'd be if given the occasion. Now cue the faceless comment squad invasion. Cue those fuckers crawling out the woodwork to come analyze the way you wore your hair and what you wear. Like your appearance waives your rights, or that somehow you're the reason for your situation. Somehow they've decided you should bear responsibility for what such monstrous men insist on doing. Somehow they're deluded by the empty, hypocritical, and useless fucking platitudes that bastard keeps on spewing. I think it's very telling that the best of their excuses when they try to come and justify our president's abuses is a hearty butt Trump. In which case I'll remind you that you never saw the news attempt to sell us Donald Trump like he was morally upstanding or a decent human. But when Joe says something bigoted or ogles someone's little kid, CNN says, isn't this refreshing? Biden's like a mix of JFK and FDR with all the finer parts of Harry Truman. Christ, I know that they don't think that we're the brightest, but at least pretend we got a couple lumens. Ask yourself if you have ever questioned what they fed you, or do you just shut your eyes and then consume it? And now ask yourself if you ate every one of Biden's lies under guise of harm reduction and the promise of a slight improvement. And now imagine long ago that Biden chose to show you who he really was by traumatizing you for his amusement. Now imagine that you watched him touch a Bible with those filthy hands, and then assume the power of the highest seat in all the land, of knowing your attacker wields a global coalition born of three-letter agencies who'll make a life's mission out of trying to discredit you through lies, damn lies, and collusion. Big tech is never gonna separate from our surveillance state. Fuck's sakes, they're just a breath away from total fusion. So there will come a time where even if you see the light, your voice will never reach the sky through all the bots and all the noise pollution. So trust us when we tell you that the masking of abuses is perhaps this country's oldest institution. And I know nothing nobler than...
Who are these people?
What's up, everybody? Oh man, I did the thing again with the thing where you see behind the scenes stuff, you know, and I had to go here and fix it. Why do I do this every time? Welcome everyone to another episode of INN News, where I constantly mess things up and have to like fix it, and then have to look through this giant list of OBS scenes that I wish I organized better. And then go here and then do that. And look, everything's fixed. Look at that. I did it. But anyway, I'm here with two lovely people. As always, my guest, co-host Collin Radix-Carter, otherwise known as Care Bear around these parts, and the specialist of guests down here, Comrade Misty. How are you, Misty?
Hi. I'm tired. I'm good. I'm very good.
You had a giant event that you did, which we'll get to. I figured I'd make sure that went last, so you had as much time to talk about all the fun stuff as possible.
You know me.
Yeah. So
I'll ramble for a little while.
Yeah. But yeah, I got the people in the chats and stuff like that. We got Warren's in the chat. We got Bitch with Comrade Misty's in the chat. Look at you.
Yeah.
Look at you
I'm
in
multitasking.
there. Isn't that the best?
Multitasking.
People wonder how we do it.
Welcome, John. Kemper's here. Welcome.
Yay.
Let's see. Ghost Art. Welcome.
What's up, fam?
Victory
What's up,
Jen.
familiar?
Hi, Victory Jen. Gamer. I don't know. Maybe you already said gamer. Hi, Ghost Star.
Yeah. Miguel, what's up?
Derek.
Ed, what's up? Glad to see you guys here.
I think I got everybody.
Apparently,
Did I
we're
say
not
everybody?
we're not supposed to get as drunk as a house speaker. Warren wants to let us know. Warren, you're not my real dad. Warren, you can't tell me.
Yeah, we don't need that kind of negativity in our life, Warren.
Yeah, especially. So we got some stories this evening that we get to force Misty to go through with us.
Well, one, she should be very excited about, despite
Yes.
how tired she is. So
Yeah.
we want to.
I'm fine. I'm just a whiny bitch.
So I think for you guys, who don't care to hear much from me or Reef,
Yeah.
and hear from Misty, we know why you're here. We'll try and go for these stories decently fast, but complete as possible. So
Yeah,
Misty
we'll
has
also
enough
talk
time.
way too much on them. I
yeah,
know how
I'm
me and
fine.
Misty are gonna
Fine.
go. It's gonna be
Yeah.
But
fun.
but here are stories I picked this week. So there's a little rumblings about reparations among the duopoly, and I am not an expert, so let me say that. Those of you who know me know. But I do want to kind of bring up almost the hypocrisy of certain people in regards to reparations, that I do want to talk about how that affects probably this upcoming midterms, and how it's probably going to affect, hopefully, the Black vote moving forward. I hope so, but we'll see. We're going to talk about that. And we'll also talk about, there was a certain hurricane that no one's talking about that hit Puerto Rico a few weeks ago. But you know how President Biden, has given some money to Puerto Rico for relief, and a little bit more for a certain country called Ukraine.
That one.
Well,
that country.
as we kind of talk about in independent media, how you can't do it all without mutual aid. There's an article that explains how mutual aid is helping with the recovery effort that's going on in Puerto Rico right now. So I want to highlight that tonight.
Nice.
And what you got, Reef? I know you got a treat.
I do have a treat. It's going to be interesting for people because I normally would never platform this individual myself, but there's an article from Brian Grimm who's reporting Ken Klippenstein and stuff like that. So they finally got to the Ukraine story, guys. It's interesting. They're how late are they now, Misty? A little late.
Yeah, a little. I mean, like
About 6
8 years.
months.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And then
Ish.
and then we'll recap your whole big day. So, but anyway, you want to get started? I'm ready to get started.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
So
Bring it.
all right. So I saw this this clip on Twitter on Monday. So I guess the Democrats are worried, and rightly so, about the midterms next month and how the Black vote is going to affect it. So this, I don't know the senator, and even right now I forgot his name, but who cares, really?
Yeah.
Republican again, Alabama again, who cares? But he said some mess that our old friends Nina Turner, Corey Sellers, kind of critiqued him on. And so actually, I just want you guys to listen, and then I want to play another clip to counter that, just to kind of see what was said and what was not said. So hopefully I can probably play it from here. But
maybe we'll see. Does the magic work? Hey, look at that.
The volume's kind of low for me.
I can fix that.
Yeah.
How about that?
There it is. That's better.
Perfect.
Way to read that other than
Here,
black people want reparations.
start
Messaging.
again, 'cause apparently I
Alabama
can't
Republican
hit
Senator
audio
Tommy
buttons for
Tuberville
people.
hit the stage at former
God.
President Trump's rally in Nevada last night, and well, let's just roll the tape.
They want crime because they want to take over what you got. They want to control what you have. They want reparation because they think the people that do the crime are owed that. Bullshit. They are not owed that.
Now, just to be clear, they want reparation because they think the people that do the crime are owed that. That is, there's no other way to read that sentence, and we've reached out several times to Tuberville's team. There's no other way to read that other than black people want reparations and they do the crime.
Is that what he means by they? When he keeps
That is
saying
exactly
they
what-
want that or
there's only one conversation
exactly
about
what he
reparations,
means.
and it's for
And
descendants.
crime.
What the fuck did he
Tommy Tuberville
mean?
can go to hell. And let me tell
I
you
wish
why.
I knew.
The fact is, he made tens of millions of dollars off unpaid black men as a football coach. He literally has the stature he has because people went out there and assumed the risk and incurred the risk of concussions, playing hard and everything. And then for him to give these racist tropes, I mean, it infuriates me, but this is a large swath of the Republican Party that they have to deal with that they've never done.
Yeah, I mean, the they just flat out, he talking about black people. He should man up and say it. American descendants of slaves do deserve reparations in this country. They absolutely do. But for him to equate a whole group of people as being criminal, you know what's criminal? Allowing people to languish in poverty, not supporting policies that will lift people up. That is what's criminal.
There's, by the way, there's a way to talk about crime in this campaign. It's an important issue. A lot of people are worried about it.
It is.
This ain't it.
Well,
There it is.
I mean, objectively speaking, we do have violent
blacks
crime
are also
problems.
overwhelmingly
We have-
victims of crime.
And
Right.
people across the political spectrum are worried about it.
Sure.
And so there's a way to discuss issues that are very serious. And the same.
But
There's
This
a
is-
way to
his
talk
true
about
nature came out.
being upset with the police department without and saying, listen, we can't defund police. We can't. There's a way to talk about it. And again, it's just when somebody shows you who they are, you have to
But I mean, we have
them.
to.
And it's unfortunate that we're sitting here at a table in America today and we're having this conversation.
But I wish we were having a conversation about early childhood education. I wish we were having a conversation that the reason that a lot of kids don't perform in school is the fact they go to school hungry. How do we make sure community policing is something that we all embrace? Like my mama and
Embrace
daddy
the
don't wanna
policing.
defund the police, but
What?
what they do want to do is have good police. They want to have respectable conversations in the community. They want to make sure that we undergird our community with the resources necessary. We can drink clean water like in Jackson, Mississippi, so that you don't have inflation and poverty.
Except they
And
don't-
those are
they're the ones
conversations
without
about crime
clean
we should
water.
have, not Tommy Tuberville being the racist that he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
There's
I'm
so
glad that
much
we
to unpack in this
defending those
fucking
comments because
thing.
they're
Please
pretty
go
indefensible.
on.
Thanks one and all for being here. Really good.
Like there's, God, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to start.
Go off.
I don't know where to start. That's a
Um,
lot, you guys. The whole thing is like,
welcome to mainstream.
boy.
Welcome to mainstream media.
Yes. Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
Can I just say it's very interesting that Bakari and Nina are sitting at the same table together when a few months ago
Yeah.
they were campaigning. Well, Bakari was campaigning for Nina when he is
it was a
obviously
debate.
not for the policies.
It was a debate.
It was a debate.
It was a debate.
Yeah. And listen, I'm not going to speak on reparations. I'm white. I don't fucking know. I don't know what the right answer is. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. So I really don't. I mean, I have thoughts, but like, I don't really think that I add anything to that conversation. But the way that they talk about this shit and the way it's just so fucking weird. It's like this Twilight Zone where, you know, nothing makes sense. And it's the whole kind of identity politics. It's gross. It's not like a serious conversation. There's no nuance. There's no, you know what I mean?
No.
And it's just, it's very annoying the way that we have conversations.
It's basically, to sum this up, it's basically bad Republican for saying that Black people can't have reparations. Okay, but we've been new. Okay, so okay, so now keep this in mind. I want to play another clip from CBS this morning. Gayle King.
All of you, welcome back.
So I kind of noticed what she says, and I want to see if people catch it.
One Republican senator not up for re-election this year is facing outrage over comments that critics call overtly racist. We're talking about Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville, who used to be head football coach at Auburn University. Now, here is what he said about Democrats at a rally in Nevada with former President Trump.
They're not soft on crime. They're pro-crime. They want crime. They want crime because they want to take over what you got. They want to control what you have. They want reparation because they think the people that do the crime are owed that. They are not owed that.
Now, you heard the word reparations there. The NAACP defines it as financial recompensation for African Americans whose ancestors were slaves. Tuberville seemed to be saying that blacks are, quote, the people that do the crime. Now, the Democratic Party does not support reparations, though President Biden has supported studying the issue. CBS News has reached out to Tuberville for comment multiple times. We've not received any response so far.
Oh, of course not.
Did everyone notice what Gayle King just said?
Democrats don't support reparations.
Bingo.
That's why this is so, and it's an election year, right? So, you know, Collin, you said earlier that reparations are in the news again. Well, it's because it's a fucking election year, and that's an emotionally driven issue that they can use to manipulate voters into doing what they want you to do. And they do. That's all this is to them. That's why it's really hard for me to take any of this shit seriously because, you know, if you're somebody that thinks that like wants reparations, then you're never going to get it with the fucking Democrats. They'll talk nice to you every 2 to 4 years and pretend like they support it, but they don't actually. They're never going to actually do anything for it because if they do, then they can't use it against you. It's like abortion. They do the same thing with that. It's, you know what I'm saying? It's this is what they do. This is the game.
Right. And so, yeah, it's just kind of interesting that Gayle basically gave away the game. I'm not sure if she was even aware she gave away the game, but basically she just said the Democrats don't want to give reparations either. So, and I just want to say this, you know, that's very bad for both parties as of right now, because according to, let's see.
It's going to play
One
it again.
Republican senator not up for.
No, we don't want that.
There you go. Thank you. No more.
I do want to pull up this piece from AP. These two paragraphs. But Tuberville is falsely suggesting that Democrats promote crime and that only blacks are perpetrators. In fact, crime has slowed in the last year, and most crimes are committed by whites, according to FBI data. So, number one, you know, most crime is committed by whites, but of course, you know, that's almost downplayed in the media, which there's definitely some truth to that, but, you know, but it's obvious, you know, like, to try and bring blacks as doing more crime, I think is just kind of more of the underlying issue here that both parties use to, you know, for their own means.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Democratic Party has not taken a stance on reparations for Black Americans to compensate for years of unpaid slave labor by their ancestors, though some leading Democrats, including President Joe Biden backed the creation of a national commission to study the issue. So
he's going to form a committee to create a task force to do a study and write a report that will be given to another committee that will be, you know what I mean? Like that's what I mean. There's never going to be any
by
action.
tribunal, and then
they just pretend like they care about this shit and they kick the can down the road. They get you all excited during an election year. And that's why they use these emotionally driven issues. These ones that are it's very easy for people to be led when either they really want something or they're really against something. Do you know what I'm saying? So they choose these really like electric issues that really get people kind of divided, and they manipulate them to their own personal benefit as mostly a distraction so they can continue, raping and pillaging and plundering our society.
And for me,
You know
almost all the stuff that like, I think everyone would want like we are all slaves to the capitalist system, in my opinion, at this point.
Right.
Like I think we all need some reparations at this point. Like, you know,
wealth needs to be redistributed.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Like,
it's out of control. Out of control. Out of fucking control.
Yeah.
I do want to pull this up real quick. So this is from the Pew Research Center. Now, I have my issues with Pew because sometimes, especially when they do like these surveys or whatever, they tend to skew basically a lot of people like do this. They skew questions, so it's usually designed for you to answer a certain way, which may not be indicative of how people are thinking. But despite that, it's a long article, so if you want to read the article, it's linked in the description. But the part that I pulled is specific to reparations for slavery, and according to Kiana Cox and Khadijah Edwards, most Black adults agreed the descendants of enslaved people should be repaid. A large majority of Black adults, 77%, think the descendants of people enslaved in the U.S. should be repaid in some way, a view widely shared across many demographic subgroups of Black Americans. Black adults' differences on this question fall primarily along the lines of political affiliation. Although the
affliction works too.
Although the majority of Black adults in both partisan coalitions think descendants of those enslaved in the U.S. should be repaid, Democrats, 81%, are more likely to hold this view than Republicans, 64%. Black liberals,
64%.
Black liberals, 84%, and moderates, 79%, are more likely than conservatives, 71%, to say that descendants of the enslaved should be repaid. And Black adults who say they are registered to vote, 80%, are more likely than those who report they are unregistered, 72%, to support reparations for slavery. Notably, large majorities of almost all these groups support reparations for the descendants of those enslaved in the U.S. So basically, all that to say is reparations is popular, even among conservatives, Black conservatives. So all this to say, especially for Black people who vote Democrat, why the hell should we vote within the duopoly when both parties have made it quite clear that they do not want to do anything for us? And as Misty said, they're trying to appeal to us now with our vote. And once we give them that vote,
they're using you.
Right.
Wasn't it Killer Mike recently saying that the Black people aren't voting? Like they're not coming out to vote. Like,
why would they? I mean, listen, why would you? Why would, I mean, honestly, I don't know why anybody votes at this point. They don't fucking represent you. Your vote does not make one bit of difference, dude. Not one bit of difference. Maybe like at a super local level, like your vote for like your local school board, or if you have like a ballot initiative, maybe. And that really depends on your area. Like it's pretty corrupt where I live, and I live in like just small town Ohio. It's still, the system's pretty corrupt here on a local level too. But yeah, I mean, maybe at a local level, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter really who the representatives are. They don't think for themselves. Lobbyists tell them what to do, what bills they're going to pass, what they're going to say when they're in Congress. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a show. It's all a show. Right. And they're just using all of us, and they use this type of shit. to just manipulate you. And that's so gross to me. These are real issues that need to have legitimate conversations, and we need to seek actual solutions. And instead, they're used as emotional manipulation tools during election seasons to fuck everybody over even harder. While making you pretend like they're fighting for you. It's so manipulative and it's so gross. And that's our system. That's our fucking system. That's what it is for all of the things.
Right.
Yeah. And everybody thinks that we can just, reform that shit. Really?
You have to like rip it out at the root,
Yeah.
Like hair's dead, girl. You've been dyeing it too much, like
it needs to be lit on fire.
Yeah.
To the sun.
Right. So it's
Start
interesting that you guys say this, because just to kind of continue with the article here, the pattern of wide support for reparations among Black adults is reversed when it comes to the general public. Just 30% of all U.S. adults say descendants of enslaved people should be repaid in some way, a much lower share than the 77% of Black adults who say the same. In fact, nearly 7 in 10 among the public overall, 68% say descendants of people enslaved in the U.S. should not be repaid, compared with 17% of Black adults who say the same. So really, all you people who are saying Black Lives Matter in your Twitter profiles, like, you can't really be for Black Lives Matter if you're not. That's it. And to be fair, like, there's a lot to discuss around reparations. Like, there is a lot to talk about. As I said on Twitter, I am not an expert on this. I like to know, obviously, there's stuff within, being a Black immigrant that's specific to me, that I think is not being discussed enough. But I do support the idea, especially for Black people in general, but being that I'm America, Black people living in this country do deserve some type of compensation for what happened to them within their history. And for non-Black people who don't necessarily support that, or at least are open-minded to learn more about it, and just kind of say, I don't care what you feel about reparations, like, piss off and just vote, basically fuck you, because I think especially for Black people, like, we tend to get just short nothing as far as anything, as far as tangibles. And not to say that every group does, but we get highlighted the most as far as voting, and we get no payout in terms of, when we do ask for tangible, we don't get anything out of it.
Quite the opposite, actually.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
I mean, I hate to laugh, but that's reality. I mean, if you look at what Joe Biden is doing, and
I mean, like, when we had DJ Joe Nice on not that long ago, he was talking about this is not just a national movement either. There are international crimes involved here, between the UK, the Dutch, the Spanish. I mean, like,
as I said on that stream with DJ Joe Nice a few weeks ago, my beef is not with America, because like, America did not ship my ancestors to the Caribbean. It was the UK and France. So my beef is, and West Africa in the mix in that as well. So my beef is with those regions.
Get a couple of those royal jewels back,
Right. So, and then, but basically the idea of reparations, and I don't want people to think like it's just money. It's not just money. This is tied to economics. And I think this is kind of something that everybody can kind of get behind, especially in light what's happening right now with the economy, because everyone is saying, oh, abortion is the top issue, crime is the top issue. Top issue consistently, and I think especially within this midterms, is the economy. And you notice that Democrats and Republicans are not speaking to the economy, they're downplaying.
No.
So
they have to.
So in light of reparations, especially for Black people, is all tied in, because reparations is about economic sufficiency. It's not about money or getting a check. It's the idea of Black people having the systems where we're able to do things on our own without depending on white supremacists, or you can take to capitalism to tell us or dictate what we should do, how we should do it, and basically how to run our life.
And that's really what it is. I mean, to me, and again, I get it. I'm a white person. People are going to say, you have no, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. But it is legitimately, it needs to be the systems. It needs to be overhauls of systems. Right. It's really not about necessarily the money. I mean, obviously that is a natural byproduct of what happened. Where do you think economic disparity came from?
Right.
Still coming from.
That's where it's still coming from. So yes, I mean but it's not like, hey, we're going to give you a check and then that solves the problem. That can't be how it goes down, because that's not solving anything. That's just like a Band-Aid on a zombie.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like
lipstick on a pig.
Yes, that solves nothing. So it needs to whatever. And these are just my opinions. Come from me if you want, but it can't just be like a payout. There has to be actual but I'm like kind of,
like there needs to be basically destruction of systems in order for that to happen.
Yeah.
And I think if you talk about it in that context, especially with people like on the left who are truly on the left, I think people can get behind that because I think generally we all need it. But I think there's specific stuff with Black people in terms of our history that have not been addressed that also kind of ties into as well in Pacific.
Even if they did,
that's specific to Black people.
Even if they did do reparations, do you know how hard they would means test that? Like,
right.
Yes.
Like you would have to be, you had to be so Black. You had to be this Black to like get.
Yeah.
They would means test the crap
like,
out of it.
It can't be just some bullshit like they try to do now. It has to be legitimate change. Like.
Right.
Burn it down, start all over again.
Right.
I mean, again, but that's my answer for everything at this point.
Yeah.
So, Reef, if you don't mind removing your screen so I can read this top part.
Sure.
But so continue with the article, which is sad, but makes sense. Most Black adults say repayment for slavery will not occur in their lifetime. Although most Black adults say descendants of slavery should be repaid, very few of those who want reparations say that such repayment is likely in their lifetime. Only 7% of Black adults who support reparations say it is extremely or very likely that descendants of people enslaved in the U.S. will be repaid in their lifetime, and only about 1 in 10, 11%, say it's somewhat likely. Roughly 8 in 10 Black adults, 82%, say repayment is a little or not at all likely. In fact, a majority of Black votes who support reparations, 63%, say repayment for slavery is not at all likely to happen in a lifetime, which I get.
Yeah.
But this is kind of why you need to hold your vote hostage.
Mm-hmm.
We know that the duopoly is not going to give it to us. So we have to force it to make them give it to us. And that means, unfortunately, Black people, well, everyone, like everybody basically, really, but especially Black people, like we need to start making more noise, not just about reparations, but things like crime, housing, like all these issues that are kind of pertinent to our experience in this country, we need to be making more noise about. And we need to kind of say, now we are not going to give you our vote until, you basically do what is due to us. So, friend to the show, Nick, I saw him tweet this out last week. And I loved it so much that I decided to share out his tweet. So he tweeted out an article. If you go down a little bit, Reef, it says, Democrats are lagging among Black voters, and that could cost them in November. Good. Mm-hmm. So Nick responds, good. My goal is to convince as many Black people as possible to stop voting Democrat.
Yeah.
You should stop Republican too, but, we get the point. So he continues. In the article, they mention exactly why I advocate for a massive Black exodus of the Democratic Party. By voting Democrat without any ask, we have destroyed any political leverage we have as a voting bloc. The NAACP and Black leaders convinced us to vote Democrat, hurt us so bad. Not going to read the article now, but basically, it's, saying, Black people are important to voting, but Black people are generally tend to be forgotten about once elections are over, basically.
I did want to add that, like, reparations aren't only just for Black people, but Native people, Asian people.
Right. Yeah.
Like, we used your labor too without paying you, so
Which
you know?
again, we need to fix the systems.
Yes.
That would be that has to be starting point number one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it can't just be because I get we have to make it clear that reparations does not equal money, because I think that's really one of the biggest miscommunications in this conversation is that everybody that hears reparations automatically just thinks they just want to check. You know what I mean?
Right.
People just want to check. And
it's
that's
also
not at all what
pie wedge thinking too. The fact that like that a certain group might get more help than you do, you feel that's
Not
somehow
about that.
unfair. Right.
Yeah.
I know.
It's not
Like
about that.
yeah, it's not. You know.
It's not.
Again, I'm seeing in the chat, like saying, oh, it's not just like when I stop at Black people, give to everybody. I totally get that. But I think, again, among Black people, there are specific issues that are tied to our history that have not been addressed that need to be. And so, again, it doesn't necessarily mean Black people get money,
Yeah.
but all I'm saying is within like the system that we want basically destroyed and rebuilt, like there are specific issues tied to our history for Black people that, need to be atoned for. And so that doesn't mean we're excluding anyone else. It's just like,
no, each situation is different. And that's what's going to make this such a complicated conversation, because who decides who's due what and how that is, divvied up or what, you know what I mean? Like that's all. And it's going to, because people are incapable of having those difficult conversations that do require nuance, and everybody just starts slinging insults and, absolutely refusing to hear anything.
right.
To me, it seems like a lost cause. That's why it's like I don't even know why we're having this conversation, because unfortunately I'm one of those people. I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime. Dude, we can't get together on the most basic of things, like, hey, we shouldn't be arming Nazis. I thought that would be something that everybody could be like, yeah, I mean, that's obviously that's a bad idea, we should not do that, and here we are. You know what I'm saying? So it's I have sorry, I know that's very cynical, but I have very little hope at this point.
No, I'm with you.
No, I mean, it's considering our environment, and basically within the duopoly, people feel like, oh, I don't have a choice. Like I heard like someone say yesterday, I think just regarding to our local elections in DC, like obviously our mayor sucks, but she basically said our mayor is the lesser of two evils. And I literally wanted to wring her neck, because it's the idea of like, that's exactly what you're playing into. Yeah. And it basically like we're rewarding her for basically the shit that she hasn't done, in DC. And I have specific issues, just being a teacher that I'm really pissed at my mayor about. But basically it's like, no one is competing against her really. She's basically going to sail through the election, basically. Yep. And even with people who may dislike her are going to vote for her anyway. And it's like you are adding to the problem, especially if you are very well aware that whoever you're voting for might suck, but you're not demanding anything from them. Yeah. And so like, how are you going to keep them accountable? You're basically giving them away the vote and basically like, fuck you. They don't have to do anything because you didn't demand anything. So really the people who say like it's a lesser of two evils, it's just like bullshit to me.
And Collin, instead of demanding anything, not only are they not demanding anything, they're making excuses and justifications and performing like Olympic level mental gymnastics to defend these people who are regularly screwing them over, openly and actively working against them, saying pretty words to your face, but then doing the exact opposite when it actually matters, when it actually comes to voting for something. And it's, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just this amazing, like Stockholm syndrome bullshit. Like, stop it. And then they get mad when people do hold those people accountable. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're getting mad at me because the person who promised us shit isn't doing the shit they like. What? That's what you're supposed to do, right? Like, why would we get mad at Republicans? Have never promised me shit. Have they ever promised you anything, Collin? No. Republicans have never promised me anything ever. They've never pretended to be on my team.
That's the only thing they promised. They promised as hell.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I've never expected a Republican to do me any favors. I will say we've had better luck with them on free speech, which is weird. I thought that was a solidly leftist issue, and here we are. Republicans are out left and the left on free speech. We live in a weird time, dude.
When the Starbucks union is saying, like, they literally said this publicly, that they didn't want any demands. Like, that they didn't think demands were like seriously. Like Indy will put the exact quote in there, but it's like they straight up did not want the union to have demands because because they were like, oh, we can't let the enemy know, and like, well, who says that they won't just do those demands and then we don't need a union? What? You don't got like a list?
Dude,
you don't got a list of stuff?
Screwed.
Like,
we are so fucked. We're so fucked. We are so fucked, you guys. Again, I'm sorry for being cynical, but seriously, this is the shit people are willing to put up with.
Right.
And we're fucked. We are fucked. We are well and truly fucking fucked. We are sending billions of dollars to a country who has a heavy, like, known Nazi presence in both its military, its government, like you name it. And we're sending billions of dollars and money and weapons to Ukraine right now, currently. And there are people sleeping on the streets in this country.
People still don't have water.
We don't have water. People don't have clean water. Like we can't get money for disaster relief, for hurricanes to people. We can't, like, it's absurd what people are willing to accept. And I mean, there are some people, but you know what I mean? Like, there's not like massive public outcry against that. We're fucked. Like, if that's where we're at, I don't have words, you guys. We're funding a proxy war while people starve in this country. We're screwing over the people of Europe. I mean, Jesus Christ, they're going to freeze. They're going to freeze this winter. They're going to fucking freeze. Have you seen their energy bills already going up? Like, we have well and truly fucked them over, and nobody cares. Everybody's just AOC signing on for another $13 billion here, $16 billion there, $7 billion there. That progressives are voting for that shit, and nobody, again, us, we speak out of it. Like, all of their sycophants, they're just like, they're just playing the game. They have to do this, or Putin's bad, or what the fuck off. It's beyond ridiculous, the situation we find ourselves in. Again, we're fucked. Like, we are fucked.
Well, and people are having to save ourselves. No, like, it pulls us right into this, where Puerto Rico's having to do its own mutual aid.
Right. Which, like, RBN talks about a lot. We talk about a lot here. But, I found this article and I immediately felt like Savvy, because she talks about mutual aid, especially, like, all the time. But I think especially given what happened to Puerto Rico, we're not even talking about Puerto Rico.
No. We barely talked about Florida.
Right.
Yeah.
And, like, and so,
did you guys watch the video of Biden, like, aimlessly walking away? I'm pretty sure in the wrong direction. Like, going to Puerto Rico. I just want to be like, it's south! Joe, it's south! Not that way, south. Like he was just gonna, like, truck on down to Puerto Rico. Like, anyway.
It doesn't matter who the president is. It doesn't matter.
The remote control was broken that day, I think.
Than Joe Biden.
Right. So anyway, I do want to read this article just to kind of show you guys, like, as Misty said, we have to save ourselves here. And the way that we do that, especially when electoralism is shit, is mutual aid. So mutual aid emerges as a critical survival tool in Puerto Rico, written by Zane McNeil from
Waging Nonviolence.
Well, I got the article from Popular Resistance, but
nice.
Puerto Rican mutual aid groups are not only helping people meet basic needs after Hurricane Fiona, but building community power in the face of U.S. imperialism. Keep in mind, Fiona happened when 2017. About? No, that was Maria.
Yeah.
No, this is no.
I can't keep them all.
I can't keep them all straight. This is this has happened this year, but I'm just not getting my hurricane straight. Anyway, sorry guys. A network of mutual aid groups in Puerto Rico were quick to react when the island lost power on September 18th before being hit by Hurricane Fiona. Funny enough, I didn't even hear really about this hurricane at all. Like, because Ian just got a lot of the attention.
I remember Fiona.
But, yeah. Nearly 750,000 people are still without power a week after the storm caused mass flooding, landslides, and property damage. So this article, just to give reference, was written on September 27th, just to give some context here. Oh, I haven't.
There we go. You went the wrong way.
All right. Mutual aid groups like the feminist community-based organization Taller Salud, the Collective Sustenance and Solidarity Group, I'm going to You got my Spanish. Sorry.
Brigada Solidaria de Oeste.
And the LGBTQIA plus support group Ways Ahead have provided Puerto Rico residents with direct economic aid, as well as emergency essentials like first aid kits, water filters, solar lamps, non-perishable food, toiletries, and water purification devices. Puerto Rico's infrastructure has not yet recovered from Hurricane Maria in 2017, which caused the deaths of nearly 3,000 people.
3,000?
Yeah.
Jesus.
And decimated the island's healthcare, water, and power systems.
Right. And that was in when? When was Maria?
2017.
Okay.
2017.
Yeah. And then they just keep getting nailed every season. So,
right.
You know.
And given climate change, it's going to happen even more.
Yeah. They're going to need infrastructure to deal with this, you know?
Right. In 2021, the private company Luma Energy took over management of the electric power grid. Activists this summer protested the privatization of Puerto Rico's energy system, citing chronic power outages and frequent price increases. At a protest in San Juan last month, thousands of protesters and journalists were met with violence from the police. One protester alleged that they were hit directly in the face multiple times, and an elderly man claimed that he was repeatedly hit in the leg and had to be taken to the hospital because of the police's use of tear gas. In August, the anti-capitalist group Jornada Se Abra con las Promesas took part in the protests, alleging that the U.S. colonial junta was forcing privatization to break up labor unions and continue the legacy of U.S. imperialism in Puerto Rico. Similarly, activists have asserted that the devastation caused by Hurricane Fiona exemplifies both the legacy of U.S. colonialism and climate change, which has been exacerbated by the global north. As Puerto Rican doctoral fellow Andrew J. Padilla explained in a tweet, Puerto Rico is in full blackout in large part because of U.S.-imposed austerity and forced privatization of our electrical grid. The damage caused by Fiona, activists have demanded that immediate relief be taken by the U.S. government, along with urgent relief efforts to the island. The Sunrise Movement tweeted in response to the disaster, "The catastrophic flooding and the loss of power are the result of colonial policies that put profit over the people of Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico deserves new Green Deal-style policies that will build a public green energy grid and invest millions into social services." Since the U.S. government's neglect of Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria, Puerto Rican communities have organized self-managing spaces known as mutual support centers or centros de apoyo mutual. These community support centers are built upon the principles of mutual support, solidarity, community sovereignty, sustainability, and justice. What's more, the networks practice community self-management and provide soup kitchens, collective healing, for housing and knowledge sharing with community members. Puerto Rican practices of mutual aid are a direct decolonizing practice that disrupts the colonistic logic of individualism and capitalism. Mutual aid in Puerto Rico is a story about injustice and lack of access to resource and power channeled into action in order to survive. Isa Rodriguez Soto, an independent scholar and applied anthropologist in Puerto Rico, explained in the North American Congress on Latin America. Tired of watching people die after Hurricane Maria, Puerto Ricans needed to do two things: fill the immediate gaps in order to keep people alive, and at the same time, continue to demand accountability and action from governments. While Puerto Rico does have a strong history of utilizing community solidarity and mutual aid as tools to build community power in the face of U.S. imperialism, activists are adamant about highlighting Puerto Ricans' resilience as a survival tool developed to endure U.S.-driven colonialism, capitalism, and climate change. In an interview with Truthout, Democracy Now! Co-host Juan Gonzalez said, "The reality is that the Puerto Rican people since Hurricane Maria have actually been able to recognize that the government, when it comes to these crises, is inept, and many people have been able to develop their own ability to survive." Thoughts?
I mean, I think they should leave their ex and move in with Russia. You know, see if Russia helps out a little more. You know, like Stella needs to get her groove back here. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. It's frustrating because, like, even in that article, they're like, yeah, you got to pressure the government. Like, you're not pressuring the government to do shit right now. I love you, but like, that's really difficult to do. You have to have You have to have them buy the like short and
We
curlies
have
to do that.
start building outside the system.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what we need to build, a parallel structure or parallel structures, as we're doing the confronting of the
Yes.
really unconfrontable. They have so much power and authority at this point that it's
You essentially have to ignore them and like do it yourself. Like you have to ignore the entire structure. Like, which is
just
difficult.
remove yourself from it as much as possible and start dealing in other ways in the world. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's one thing that everybody can do, like growing your own food. Again, I realize I'm a hypocrite because I have land and I still haven't really figured out how to grow shit because I'm terrible at plants. But I mean, that's one thing that people can do. You can learn how to build shit, learn how to fix shit, learn how to sew, learn how to cook, learn how to can foods, learn how to basic like first aid stuff.
But you know, like Missy, I don't think that should fall on you necessarily to do all of that yourself. That's why it's a community-based.
Well, that's what I mean, though. Everybody can do something. There's so many
Something.
things that we can do. Like if, like I'm shit at plants, but like if somebody, came and lived nearby me that was good at plants, I could let them use my land to do the plants, and then you know what I mean. Like it's using each other, for not using, but like collaborating with other people who have skills that we don't have in order to survive in ways that we need to survive. You know what I mean? Like you're right. You can't do all of those things yourself. It would be impossible to learn how to do all of those things yourself and be 100% self-sufficient. But yes, but everybody can do something or some things. Like you can learn how to do a few of those things. The list is long. And a lot of those things go together. Like if you are learning how to grow food, you're probably also learning how to can food. You're probably also learning how to cook food. You know what I mean? So a few of those things go together. And so it's, if you're learning how to build things, you're probably also learning how to fix things. You're probably also learning how, you know what I mean? Like it's, we can all do something though, to like try to figure out ways to soften the blow.
Barter goods, that kind of stuff, like stuff that if the, as the preppers say, shit hits the fan, you have something ready.
We have to prepare ourselves to soften the blow of the inevitable collapse because it's coming. I don't mean to be alarmist. It's coming.
No,
I think we're well past the point of no return.
Our country has been through this a couple of times, like where we've been close to failing. Right. Yeah. Like
they always fail. And we know that they always fail. And we know why they fail. Like we know how to prevent these things from happening, but it's happening.
They never learn. Like, no. I mean, that's my thing is I think I do have some optimism that we don't necessarily let it completely go before. All right. But having said that, people have theirs on red buttons right now. So like,
it doesn't have to be this way.
No. You're seeing protests in Europe about this, all of this, I mean, taking your power back, as Kwame Ture would like to tell you to do,
right.
Not just mobilize, but like organize,
right.
It shouldn't be that hard, but it is,
right.
I
just have something to say. I don't want to pick on AC in a way because, like people are like, oh, you pick on her so much, but isn't she Puerto Rican? And why is she not
AOC?
mention this? Yeah, she's Puerto Rican and she's
has she talked about it at all?
Right. Anyone in government like is highlighting this at all. Like I just feel like Puerto Rico is just like, not to say like we are forgotten about because we are, but I think Puerto Rico especially more so. Like they're just kind of doing their own thing in the middle of the Caribbean. No one gives a damn about it unless it's a crisis.
You know what's coming.
It's disaster capitalism.
Climate migration is going to be the problem. And then they're going to try to keep Puerto Ricans out of the country. I guarantee you,
Right.
Like when there isn't an island left, there's going to be, problems.
Right. And then they're going to want to come here.
Right.
Because, obviously they're citizens and then like they're basically going to be denied access to their country, essentially.
Yeah.
So, by both parties. So, I mean, I think last week we kind of promised because it was just like a very down stream to have some type of, hopeful.
Oh, I'm getting that. We're gonna have some fun in a second.
So I think I hope this counts. As far actually no. Like I think the rest of the stories.
I think it is good. I think. Yeah. I mean, the fact that Puerto Rico is putting getting their shit together, like with or without us.
Right, but I've seen
without us would probably be better for that.
Right, but I've seen like how you know, like I remember, I think it was their mayor who committed some type of thing and he refused to step down. And basically the whole island went out to protest him out.
Yeah. Like get the fuck out of here.
It was a few years. Yeah. And I remember I forget, I think it might have been around 2016. It had to be around, I definitely remember that because it was around Trump. You know, so it was definitely around 2016 that this occurred. You know, it was, and I remember that because that was kind of like the beginning of my awakening politically, and like, and I just saw that I was like, wow, that's so amazing. Why can't we do that here? And it's like, but I think in a large part, if that, because when people feel like they have nothing to lose, then they're willing to do shit.
That's why they keep you complacent.
We haven't gotten to that point, unfortunately. And I'm kind of like, guys, I don't know about you, but I'm kind of there. You know, like,
well, we shouldn't wait till that point. Like, that's what's so frustrating is that that's always the case, is that people wait until they have no other options left and they have nothing to lose. And you shouldn't wait that long. It doesn't have, like, it didn't have to get like this. And it's going to get worse because of inaction. And the longer we wait, the harder it will be. I know it's cliche. It's absolutely true. The longer we wait, the harder it's going to be. And, you know, people don't want to face that. And it's complete. That's why they keep you complacent. That's why they give you Netflix. That's why they give you Desperate Housewives. That's why they give you what the fuck ever else it's called. That's probably really old. I don't watch a lot of TV.
Misty, don't let perfect keep you from good. Don't.
I don't want perfect. I would just like, you know, less genocide and war and oppression and inequality. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's just the basic stuff. I mean, but Sarah Silverman said that was ridiculous, that I should want like fair elections and shit. You know what I mean? Like that, you're ridiculous.
Please calm down. Misty, calm down. Misty.
I have very little patience for that attitude because people cannot. I
remember
there
that.
Are people literally dying because of this shit.
You're ridiculous.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
yeah.
What? We're still waiting. Everyone just tells you to wait.
People don't have clean water in the United States of America in the year 2022. There are tons of communities who don't have clean water. We're the greatest country on earth. Fuck off. You're a fucking third world country with an army. Like, that's all you are. You're an army. You're like a corporate run army. That's all you are. We're like a shithole. You talk about shitholes. We are a shithole.
Yeah.
Are you joking? Look around. Look at the homelessness crisis in the United States of America in the year 2022. And they want to tell you that we're the greatest country on earth. No, we're fucking not. We're sending money to Nazis rather than taking care of our own people. We're not the greatest country on earth. That's a lie. They lied. They lied to you. You've been bombarded with propaganda since you exited the womb.
Time does not heal all wounds. Sometimes that shit gets infected, people. You're going to have to get this shit early. Speaking of wounds and infections. Oh, God. So, I found this through an aggregate source that I'm surprised it got caught. This is Ryan Grimm, none other than Autopilot himself, Ryan Grimm. You know, with the Lego haircut and everything. But
although it looks better now, I think he's been listening.
I think someone probably, you know, like told him to comb it the other way. I know. You don't have to be. I'll let you go in a second.
I don't have to say anything.
Oh, you're not gonna keep it together, I guarantee. U.S. has ramped up special operations personnel in Ukraine, and the world's second most important story, continues to unfold mostly out of the spotlight. We'll get to what his first most is. Oh, it's at the end. I brought it. I just wanted to make sure that we're in the 6 to 2 year late club over here. So there is a much larger presence of both CIA and U.S. Special Operations personnel and resources in Ukraine than there were at the time of the quote, Russian invasion, end quote. In February, my colleagues Ken Klippenstein and Jim Risen are reporting. So we get Klippenstooge, great. The flow of U.S. assets into Ukraine came after personnel and CIA contract assets were rushed out of the country at the start of the invasion as the U.S. intelligence community assessed that Kiev would fall in a matter of days or weeks. These are also the same special ops that are like making sure all the money and weapons are going to the right people, and they're doing a great job. Great job. But
A plus.
I just want to make sure no one knocks on my door at least for an hour, you know? But Risen and Klippenstein, so Ryan Grimm is using their reporting. So when it became clear that the agency's predictions of a rapid Russian victory had been wrong, the Biden administration sent the clandestine assets that had been pulled out of Ukraine back into the country. The military and intelligence officials said one U.S. official insisted that the CIA only conducted a partial withdrawal of its assets when the war began, and the agency never completely left. Now, in this next paragraph, Misty's going to realize why I'm reading it. Yet clandestine American operations inside Ukraine are now far more extensive than they were early in the war, when U.S. intelligence officials were fearful that Russia would steamroll over the Ukrainian army. There is a much larger presence of both CIA and U.S. Special Operations personnel and resources in Ukraine than there were at the time of the Russian invasion. Several current and former intelligence officials told the who? The Intercept. Yay, the Intercept.
The Intercept.
So you can
Fuck
just like go back to the beginning of this and reread of like what the state wants you to hear, pretty much. That, you know,
just a
Russian-
reminder that the Intercept gives what's his name? Elliot Higgins a whole shit ton of money. Whole shit ton of money.
I just want to point people towards this little bit of narrative managing here that like that Russia was supposed to have like a rapid victory, right? We'll get to that because they kind of flip it and twist it and reverse it, you know? So the pair also report that intelligence analysts badly underestimate the damage done to the Russian military by corruption inside its own military-industrial complex. My own guess is that such a critique might have been a bit too close to home. The graft embedded in our system is perhaps not so extraordinary, but we spend more than $800 billion a year on our defense budget, so we can paper over plenty of corruption and still come out with the most lethal fighting force in world history. Russia spends around $70 billion, so they have less room for error. Yeah. Like, what? Essentially, they're saying that, like, Russia's military is so corrupt, that's why it's taking them so long.
Yeah.
Like, okay. You know.
You guys, I honestly, I can believe it, but I can't believe it at the same time that after Iraq, people are still just unquestioningly swallowing and internalizing the establishment narrative on this thing. Like, really, just uncritically, Putin's bad. And so, do you know what I mean? It's another reason why I say we're fucked.
We're fucked. And
we're
they now
fucked
appear
because we are. People are falling for this shit again, you guys.
Again. They're gonna fall for it in Taiwan in a year or so.
Damn,
especially
and Iran. We're gonna do an Iran. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The same shit every time.
And they now appear to be rapidly collapsing along huge swaths of their front lines. I think you need to relook at what's happening over there. Corruption plays into this too. When a system is held together purely by self-interest with no higher value driving it, when it starts to come apart, it can come apart in an instant as everyone positions to save themselves and grab what they can. Where this goes next is the most important question facing the world, given the very real risk of global nuclear war. Well, at least you're Dea Ryan. At least you don't like that. The second most important question facing the world in the short term, this is Ryan Grimm, everybody, just in case people were wondering, is the threat of a new pandemic. Yay, pandemics.
Yay.
Listen to this. Listen to what Ryan Grimm has finally willing to say. The mainstream press has largely dismissed the possibility that COVID-19 leaked out of a lab in Wuhan. What? But the scientific community is not at all so sure. Despite it remaining very much an open question, the U.S.-based organization at the center of the question, EcoHealth Alliance, just recently got a brand new grant for high-risk research from the NIH that came just weeks after they had a previous sub-grant terminated for failure to turn over critical documents and lab notebooks requested as part of an investigation into the origin of the pandemic. Ryan's new story, then at 11. Like, what? He's again, we're 9 months late.
Does anybody know if he was pro-mandate?
I'm sure the chat will
I
let
could
us
see
know.
him being one of the. I don't know. I'm asking.
I'm sure he called Jimmy Dore a crazy conspiracy theorist for thinking Wuhan.
You think he was pro-mandate, Collin? Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about publicly.
Yeah,
he might have taken the smart move and not said shit.
I'm pretty sure.
He might have sat on the fence.
I
don't know. I'm genuinely asking if anybody knows. I'm curious. I'm genuinely curious his position.
So I'd rather showcase some people who are actually over there looking up some stuff. You know these two people, three people. Tara Reid's Politics of Survival, which you can catch on Mondays on this channel. Talk to none other than Vanessa Beeley and Wyatt Reid, who have been in, Ukraine and the Donbass,
literally putting their lives on the line.
And literally, we'll look up. You'll see the danger Misty's talking about here very shortly.
So you had something extraordinary happen to you, and I am so glad you are safe. And I'm going to get emotional because I was so worried about you. But Wyatt, could you describe to me what happened and to our audience? And I'm glad you're safe and I'm not going to cry. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. And that's very, very sweet of you to say. And honestly, I want to preface this by saying what I experienced was just a very, very minor taste of what the people that I have been talking to and interacting with every day have been experiencing for 8 years. But on Saturday night, I arrived here in Donetsk and was here at the Donbass Palace Hotel for less than an hour and was met with an artillery strike directly on our position. The windows of this hotel were shattered. Once again, artillery strike, I believe a 155 millimeter strike from the Kiev regime forces hit just across the way. And I will actually take the viewers to go have a chance to see exactly the after effects of this attack by the Kiev regime. We have a strike here. You can see the after effects. This window has been shattered. The glass has been taken out. This was the most minor effect of this strike that took place just 30 meters over in this direction. I was outside when it happened. I watched this artillery strike hit our hotel. I was about 100 meters away, so I watched in front of my eyes a massive ball of flames and smoke rose up at least 3 stories high directly in front of me. I was, as I said, about 100 meters away. I was blown away. I was petrified. I was terrified. It was like nothing I've seen or felt in my life. I crouched down in the corner and had shattered glass from the buildings around me that was blown out by the pressure of the attack, rained down all around me. I immediately posted the video. I started recording about 5 seconds after this blast took place, 5 to 10 seconds after it took place. I captured my reaction to this. I captured the smoke and the car alarms going off and the natural consequences of an artillery strike on a civilian area, which is, of course, for the people that have been living here, then that's nothing new. This is what they've been enduring for 8 years. But to me, it was very new. It was a extremely new experience, horrific, breathtaking, something that I really don't wish upon anyone. But this is, again, what has been happening here for 8 years in a civilian area to a hotel that is known to host journalists. This is the third time in 2 months that this same block has been struck by the Kiev regime. It's a clear attempt to intimidate journalists, to stop people from coming here. And while I don't want to necessarily say that this was an attack on me personally, I do find it bizarre that this strike took place within an hour of my arrival and within an hour of me communicating to somebody, perhaps erroneously, perhaps stupidly, and telling somebody my location on WhatsApp, an application that is controlled by Facebook, a corporation that is totally loyal to the United States government. My location was shelled, and it was horrific. And I am very grateful to be alive. As I noted in a post that went pretty viral on Twitter, it's now gotten about 250,000 views. I noted that if I had come back about 30 seconds earlier, I would have most likely been killed by the Kiev regime. So that was my immediate experience upon coming to Donetsk. And the other journalists, the workers at this hotel, we formed kind of a bond of camaraderie after this, and we kind of all hung out at the hotel lobby. We drank a little bit of whiskey and kind of tried to process this extremely traumatic event. And they told me, welcome to Donetsk. This is your baptism, and you are now kind of a part of this, and you understand what we've all been going through for 8 years.
8 years, yeah. And
8 years. Like, Grimm just got to some of it. Proud of him, you know.
Yeah.
But when it's coming from The Intercept, I definitely don't trust any of it.
No.
You know.
No.
So,
that's some Bellingcat shit. You gotta be very cautious. Plus, they're really good at screwing over sources.
Yeah.
I would stay far away from it. I mean, I have a pretty strong bias against The Intercept for good reason.
Yeah.
They've proven themselves to be. They're like The Guardian. You know what I mean? I take nothing they do seriously. Every once in a while, they might accidentally get something right, or report on something that they have been given permission to report on that might actually. But I'll find it. You can find a better source to share that shit.
In this, there was a bit in here. I'm trying to. I don't know if it was in this one or in another part of it that I read that, like, essentially Biden had told members of Congress his plans for, like, intelligence operations in Ukraine. So I don't know which ones he told, you know, but that would be an interesting look at who that was. Was that in this article or in something else we read yesterday, Collin?
Biden's not making any decisions in Ukraine. So I don't know who he could have told. He's not there. He's not. I don't even know that he's involved in those conversations.
No.
Honestly, he's definitely not making any of. He can't even navigate his way out of a room properly. You really think that they're letting him make decisions on Ukraine, Russia?
I mean,
no. Again, if
they might let him
anything
flip a dice
proves
or a
that
coin,
it doesn't
or...
matter who the president is, it's
Yeah.
Joe Biden being president. Come on.
No.
I mean, Trump was a pretty good indicator, but Joe
Like-
Biden, no decisions are being made by that man.
No, it's just like Bush. Bush wasn't making any decisions either. Like,
No.
it's same difference.
But
like,
he hid it better. He did
Yeah.
hide it better than Biden. Like Biden, it's very apparent. I mean, he is not in the best. He doesn't have the presence of mind. I think that's
No.
abundantly clear at this point. I mean, they're not even
Absolutely.
like, they're not even doing the whole, it's a stutter. It's a stutter. Be nice. It's not a stutter. He's,
I remember when he was
got some
debating
kind of
people
dementia.
and, like, murdering them. He wasn't a stutterer then. Like,
No, like back in the 80s, if you watch old video, he never had
Yeah.
a stutter.
Not
He only had
even-
a stutter when
and-
suddenly he was cognitively declined. You know what I
when
mean?
he
Like
when he
suddenly
was
got a stutter.
debating fucking pretty boy of the other Paul, the one that was like
Paul
doing
Ryan.
fucking, you know.
Paul Ryan.
Oh,
he had
Paul
that
Ryan.
he had that classic picture of, like, him with, like, the smallest dumbbell I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That one.
That
like
was such a
Misty
dorky
picks
picture.
up heavier dumbbells like now.
Probably.
You know. But anyway, I just remember Biden debating him and like crushing, like,
yeah,
you know. But anyway, so you had a big event this week that most of the mainstream press probably avoided, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Except
but there's one, and it's of course they'd let this outlet talk about it, you know.
Fox News, everybody.
Yes, Fox
See
News.
what earlier when I said that I have better luck with the right than I do with the left on issues of free speech, this is what I'm talking about. Fox News had Andrew Smith on to talk about Julian Assange. Fox News has Glenn Greenwald and Jimmy Dore and Pamela
Tara
Anderson
Reid.
and a whole bunch of other people
Yep.
to talk about Julian Assange.
Mhm.
MSNBC, they're not having anybody on to talk about Julian Assange.
No.
No. And when they do cover it, it's Mehdi Hassan giving his little like minute and a half monologue where he gets some stuff right, but then also manages to throw in some like Russiagate weird smears and you know, some other stuff about how he's a hacker or something. So he managed to get it in some of the propaganda while he kind of lends kind of a sort of sympathetic tone to what he's saying. So he's trying to get best of both worlds, and it's all just bullshit propaganda.
Did you?
So yeah, Fox fucking News.
Did you read this article from Landon
of course.
Mion?
Yeah.
I figured you did. But you know, as always, they have to go through exactly what they have to teach people about Assange every time with the standard paragraphs of like,
which they
he's still in
wouldn't have to do
Belmarsh.
if they did their job,
You know,
on a regular basis and had been informing people from jump.
publishing information dealing with crimes committed by the U.S. government in the Guantanamo Bay, Iraq, Afghanistan. I mean, there's an insane list. You know,
It is an insane list.
So Britain's High Court ruled over the summer that Assange can be extradited to the U.S. Supporters in London on Saturday formed a human chain outside Britain's Parliament that stretched from the perimeter railings and across nearby Westminster Bridge to the other side of the River Thames.
Which, pause for a second, historic
yes.
event. First time that's ever happened in the history of England. Old ass country. Nobody's ever tried to surround Parliament before. Not only did they try it, they succeeded, and mainstream media isn't really touching it.
5th of November would be another good day for an event. Just thinking. You know, gunpowder, treason, and plot. But Assange
An election-ish time.
Yes. Yeah. Assange wife Stella said the British government could speak to the U.S. authorities to stop the extradition attempts. It's already gone on for 3.5 years. It is a stain on the United Kingdom and is a stain on the Biden's administration. Now that's just the his like judicial part, right? Not when he was stuck in Ecuadorian embassy for however long.
He was in there for seven years ish.
7 years.
Yeah.
7, 8 years, something like that. So yeah.
He also
it's
now
been
has
over
COVID.
a decade.
You know?
Yes, and has an underlying lung condition, suffered a mini stroke on last October 29th, I think it was. So his health has been steadily declining he's been subjected to psychological torture for over a decade. He was inside the Ecuadorian embassy without access to direct sunlight or proper medical care for 7 years. He's been inside a supermax prison for 3.5 years under the most horrendous conditions where it's cold. They don't give him his winter clothes. He has to insulate his his windows with books. It's a whole fucking thing. And obviously his health would decline under those circumstances. He's essentially being held in solitary confinement. He's being murdered in slow motion, and it's bullshit.
Yeah. In the U.S., a little lady we know put on an event in D.C., and we also have Oz in chat, who I know did a ton of work streaming it.
Yes. Shout out to Roar Media.
King of Kings, Ozymandias, they're in the chat. Love them. So supporters of the Australian-born activist gathered outside the Justice Department to call on the federal government to drop its extradition bid. The protesters said they hope Assange never steps foot on U.S. soil and they would not be treated fairly by the judicial system. Julian wasn't trying to help dictatorships. He was trying to stop the United States from becoming one, and that's why they want him in jail. And that is why it is crucial that we fight to set Julian free, 2020 Libertarian vice presidential candidate Spike Cohen said at the rally.
Shout out to Spike.
Yep,
Thank
I
you,
agree.
Spike.
So you remember this. I thought this was pretty incredible when I saw it.
Shout out to a lot of people actually for this idea. So it really started with our friend Truman in London. He started the Yellow Ribbons for Assange campaign in 2020, I think it was. And that has kind of blossomed. He ties ribbons all over the place every time they have an action. So obviously that's where we got the idea for the yellow ribbon, the giant yellow ribbon. But also our friend Kendra in Denver did an event, I think it was last summer maybe, where she did a bunch of giant ribbons. And she also used those kind of like We Are Millions photographs of like people holding the signs like Assange's freedom is my freedom or whatever. And so her campaign had used both the yellow ribbons and the We Are Millions pictures. So we combined them. Our backdrop was the We Are Millions pictures, which we then framed with the yellow ribbon. And then Paula, my dear friend Paula from Boston, had the idea to do a massive, I think this was 240 feet, 250 feet maybe of yellow ribbon. And my friend Paula hand stenciled all of those free Assanges on that ribbon. Yes, she did. You guys, people don't understand how much work legitimately goes into this shit. I should write like everybody down, because the people who did work on this, because everybody keeps trying to say it was Misty's event. Oh, didn't Misty do a great? No, I'm like just
tons
one
of people
person. I'm the
work.
loudest one. Yes, like I'm the most visible. I'm the most obnoxious and public. But there were a lot of people. My friend Paula,
News to Share,
Patricia, Marty from New York. I'm gonna forget people. Bernadette. Martha. Lots of people put in a shit ton of work on this thing.
So, Misty, would you say that what you did was organizing?
Yes.
I'm only saying that because it's like, it's just exactly what you might be the face, but you acknowledge the fact that there are people who helped you and supported you that may or may not want the spotlight, but
a lot of them don't.
You in this.
Yeah.
And I think that's something, I think when it comes to organizing, that people need to understand, like, it's a team effort.
Yes.
Like,
and that's what Collin, everybody kept trying, like our speakers would get up and say, I want to thank Misty for organizing. And I'm like, stop, please stop doing that. And people are like, yeah, but you led them. And okay. Yes. I like took the reins and I was like, okay, we're going to organize this event or whatever. So yes, I was the first person to speak on it. I'm obviously also the loudest, the most visible.
Delegate well.
But I mean, sure, if you want to say that, we did work. We did work extremely well together as a team. For the most part. We had a couple of times where there was like some miscommunications and misunderstandings and stuff, but for the most part, we all worked incredibly well together. Everybody did a great job. I could not have done this alone. There's absolutely no way. Like, so many people brought different, whether it was, connections to different speakers. Like, I don't have Ben Cohen's phone number. You know what I mean? But somebody I was organizing with did. So we were able to get a hold of these people and ask them to be speakers at our event. So it was not just my event. That needs to be made abundantly clear. I am in no way solely responsible for what happened on Saturday. You know what I'm saying? Like, it took a lot from everybody.
Every time I do a thumbnail for Misty, I make sure Misty's like medium sized. She's like, she can't be.
It's not about me.
Assange has always got to be bigger than Misty in the thumbnails.
Yeah, I would prefer if you didn't use my photo at all. I was on with who was it?
Yep.
I was on with somebody and they asked for a picture of me. I'm like, does it have to be a picture of me? Can you just use like the flyer from the event?
That's what I did last time.
Of me? Yeah, I mean I would much rather it be that. So but a lot of people. That ribbon was something else, you guys. That was beautiful to watch.
I think a lot of people look at marches in general and actions like this, and they wonder like what it does. I think the big thing, it's a demand ask. You have a demand. The demand is to free Assange.
It's also an opportunity to bring people together.
Yes.
Who understand and who have common cause. It's a great morale booster. Like, I left energized, you know what I mean? Like, I kind of need to be in those, because when, I'm in small town Ohio, like, my husband listens to me rant all the time and all that stuff. But for the most part, I think a lot of us feel isolated. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Regardless of what your cause is, I think that it can be very isolating if you don't, like, I'm surrounded by Trump voters. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it's like going to this event and having people there who I know get it and being able to speak on it, raise awareness about it. We did get, like, Fox News did cover the event. So that's great. And I think it's also great because it shows that support is building. I mean, they surrounded Parliament in London.
Yeah,
you know
that's
how amazing
incredible.
that is. Like that's if and
Well, I know
people
they
always
had
say, "Oh,
actions in
like
Australia
people were
too,
ragging
right?
on my rally, saying, "Oh, there's not very many people." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Have you seen our other rallies? This is an
Yeah,
incredible
this is
turnout."
a huge
And
amount
you
of
can like
people.
laugh and be like, "Oh, well, that's just because you can't get anybody out." We're building, and every
Yes.
movement starts somewhere. And while I was putting in the work on the ground to try to build something like this, you were sitting at home making fun of me actually doing something. You know?
Yes, as always,
what I'm
those are the
saying?
people making fun of the.
Yeah.
How many people
Olivia's
do you
back
think?
there.
Yeah, how many people do you think you reached if you were to take an estimate of like people that
What do you
just
mean reached?
well, like that
watched
saw
and
saw
stuff?
these events that might have like.
Oh God, I have no idea. I have no idea. I know it was on a shit ton of platforms. Obviously the Fox News audience got it. Obviously, in the lead up to it, a lot of people caught on to it through like my appearance on Jimmy Dore. I can't tell you the number of people who came up to me and said, "Hey, I saw you on Jimmy Dore, and that's why I'm here."
Yeah.
And I was like, again, I thank you, Jimmy.
Well,
So
famously,
yeah, it was,
he got Tucker to see the light on Julian too, which like
Yeah.
you know, and he covered
I mean,
your
just-
event, and a big shout out to
multiple times.
everyone who covered
And
that
he
event.
always does. And because of him, we also raised a shit ton of money, which by the way, just so everybody knows, because I learned a lesson. Next time I organize something, I need to go on Jimmy earlier. I had no
Yes.
idea we were going to raise that much money from that appearance. I had no idea. And I went on like, what was it? Monday, the Monday before our event. And then all of a sudden we had thousands of dollars coming in, and I couldn't possibly spend it on something useful for our rally on Saturday. There was no time. I had, what was I supposed to, you know what I mean? So now I was talking to the other organizers, and I think that maybe we're just going, I think for sure I'm going to donate some towards the billboard truck. Because I get double my money there, because Ben Cohen is matching all donations for the billboard truck that Randy Credico has been doing in DC. So I feel like that's a really good investment, because we're going to get double our money from that. And then I think that I may just like get ready for, because he's probably going to be extradited soon, if we're being realistic. So, and we need to be ready to go. If he's brought to the United States, like a presence needs to be on the ground in the Eastern District of Virginia. And it needs to be big, and it needs to be consistent. Period. Like that needs to happen. I don't know how we make that happen, but it needs to happen.
I agree. One of the people you had there, who I think is just a real gem of a person, human trafficking survivor Eliza Blue urged the global elites, the ruling class, and employers of the CIA and FBI to be a hero, quit your job, and become a whistleblower.
One of my favorite moments.
So good. If it's a choice between free speech and the United States government, trust and know one's got to go. If one has to go, it ain't going to be free speech, she said, adding that she is so passionate about freedom because she knows what it is like to lose it. Blue said that despite being a female trafficking survivor, she skipped out on the Women's March that also took place on Saturday because without a free press, there would be nobody to cover women's issues or survivor issues, and to let herself
And that's
speak
why I
for
love
herself.
Eliza Blue.
She's so good. Also,
No,
this
but seriously,
outfit.
Reef, that's like, I try to make people understand how what's happening to Assange impacts literally everything else.
Yes.
And she gets it. Like, she sees how what's happening to him impacts her ability to do the work that she's doing. And even more important than that, it impacts survivors' ability to come forward.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just so you just made a good point that I actually just now made the connection to abortion rights,
Yes.
like women's rights. Period.
Everything.
Like,
I think I was talking to you in a DM the other day about like his story is connected to almost all the problems our country is having right now. Like between our military industrial complex, our like
our
terrible
loss of
justice
rights,
systems, our loss of rights,
environmental
the problem with the deep
issues,
state, the problem with politicians, the problem with like
corruption,
performative politician, corruption, money laundering. A free and open internet, like you can't.
Everything
is connected to it, including.
People say I'm being dramatic when I say that. I'm not being fucking dramatic. It impacts
mainstream
literally
media,
all the things.
Mainstream media. They published his story first. Do people understand this? That the Washington Post put out the information without his permission.
The Washington Post, Der Spiegel, the New York Times, El País. There's a ton of outlets that put out the exact same information. That's why Obama
threw him under the
New
bus.
York Times problem.
Right.
Yes. I don't know why I have to have this conversation, honestly, still.
You
but
don't.
Here I am having to, but I,
I mean,
do,
you do.
obviously, because there's not, but frankly, it's not even because people don't get it. It's because they don't know. I think that's the biggest thing. Yes, there are people who should know better and who are anti-Assange for whatever weird, ridiculous bullshit reason that they've been force-fed to dislike Julian Assange. But there are tons more people.
So many people
who've never
don't
even
know
heard of him or
Right,
vaguely know who he is, but they have no idea what's happening to him or how it impacts their life. That's what we're up against, is just a complete media blackout and just a ton of and I don't mean this in like a disparaging way, but ignorance on what's happening.
I agree.
No, I mean, for me, I didn't know about Assange until Richie Medhurst reported on him back in 2020. So
and there's a lot of people like you.
I mean, I remember Jon Stewart talking about like when he was covering Bush stuff and weapons of mass destruction, and that was a big deal. Like, but anyway, I wanted to let Eliza speak for herself a little bit if people didn't get to see it.
I'm glad you have this.
She's been on Tara Reid before as well. You should go check out that. As well as that full stream with Vanessa Beeley and Wyatt Reed. I have the description below. Which is that whole thing was great. Vanessa's kills, Wyatt kills. But anyway, here's Eliza Blue.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eliza. I'm a survivor advocate for those affected by human trafficking. First and foremost, thank you so much to everybody that's made this beautiful event possible. Thank you. Thank you to everyone that has attended today. No thank you to the corporate press because they're not here. You're probably thinking to yourself, what on earth is a female survivor of human trafficking doing here and not over at the Women's March? See, that would, I guess to a logical mind, that would seem like it would make more sense. But the truth is, without a free press, we will have no one to cover women's issues. We will have no one to cover survivors' issues. That's why I'm here today. That's why I'm here today to advocate for the freedom of Julian Assange. See, when I made the decision to advocate for others' freedom, I didn't want to stop with survivors of human trafficking or even just my own freedom. I want to advocate for all those who need to be free. Julian Assange is one of those people. But if we don't advocate for Julian Assange now, it will inevitably affect all of our freedom, especially press freedom. When it comes to survivors of human trafficking, we need an opportunity to speak out to a free press. We need whistleblower protection, and we definitely need free speech. We just do. Survivors need it. That's why I'm here today. Yeah. I couldn't look my fellow survivors in the face, the survivors that are going to walk after me. I couldn't look them in the face and say I did everything that I could do to serve them and know that I did not advocate for Julian Assange when it mattered. This is the beginning, but I'm telling you, it's coming for all of us. It's coming for all of us. We have to fight for our freedom. We have to fight for our right to speak freely. Thank God I'm an American. Oh, woo! It's all we got left. It's all we got left. Are you ready to fight for it? I am. I have a message for the ruling class, the global elites, the CIA, the FBI. Be a hero, quit your job, become a whistleblower. Yeah. But if you do not, I'm hyped today. If you do not, you can tell I get hyped when I walk around. If you do not, if it's a choice between free speech and the United States government, trust and know, one's gotta go. If one has to go, it ain't gonna be free speech. I can bet you on that. I can bet you on that one. Yeah. We aren't gonna lose our free speech. God. I think I get so passionate about freedom because I know what it's like to lose it. And once you lose it and get it back, you don't ever want to lose it again. Yeah. It's really hard to get it back. I was thinking yesterday, and I wasn't going to add this in originally, but I know there's a lot of folks here that have been fighting this fight for a very long time. There are a lot of people that have been fighting for Assange for a very long time. Anyone that's been keeping up with what's been going on, there's been things going on, worldwide today, which have been really incredible to watch. And I had a message for you. As a survivor advocate, the days get long. You grow weary, you get tired, you get worn out. It's stressful. It's like you feel like no one's listening. You feel like there's nothing you can do. You keep going, you keep going, you keep going. Every day you wake up, you're like, what the hell? I gotta keep fighting for this. I see the Assange people as the same way. Thank you. And then on top of all of it, you'll have like Karen 973065 on Twitter tell you, oh, Julian Assange wasn't, he's not a journalist. Yeah, right. Keep going. Please keep going. Because not only are you fighting for Assange, you're fighting for yourself, you're fighting for me, and you're fighting for survivors of human trafficking, some of our world's most vulnerable who need to have a free press and free speech. Thank you so much for letting me come today. Thank you so much for letting me speak. And thank you all for being here so much.
Great speech from Eliza.
That's why I love her.
She's amazing.
That's why I love her.
Survivors,
she's right. Survivors need the ability to speak.
I wanted to showcase this little interaction too. Pause. The next. That was on Twitter. I felt like happy and sad at the same time.
Yeah. She's been through it, dude.
Oh yeah. So Eliza writes, I was watching this clip and laughing. I never wanted to talk much because I thought that I was too stupid. I can't read very well, and I never received a GED. My former abuser played on my vulnerabilities. I never thought that I had anything important to say. And I'll let you reply with what you said.
I can't. I don't know if I can read it. It's not very big.
There you go.
Silly you. You have so many important things to say, and I'm happy I'm around to hear you say them.
Oh.
But she does, Reef, she does.
Yeah,
if you all don't follow her,
absolutely.
you should go follow her. She deals with some of the darkest shit on earth. The sexual exploitation of a lot of children, but just humans in general, and human trafficking. And I mean, that is genuinely some of the darkest shit I can think of. And she deals with that every single day. Some of the stories that she posts on Twitter are, haunt me, and she has to deal with that times 1,000 on a daily basis. And she still remains so positive, and she really thinks that we can win. And she is super supportive, just as like a person, as a friend. I consider her a friend now. Like, she's very supportive of what I do. She even if she didn't get how it connected to her, she would still, like, she's just a really good person.
Absolutely.
And she does some of the most important work that I can think of. So I was super pumped to have her there.
If I ever get a chance, about the Gotham Foundation. You heard of this? With Kevin Smith, I think, funded it mostly, which it's a weird connection because his funding comes from mainly Weinstein, right? So, like, and there's that whole
so much
like dogma you still can't find because, like, he's holding it hostage, essentially, Weinstein. So, but the Gotham Foundation is a foundation for human trafficking, if I'm not mistaken. I'd love to know what she thinks about that.
Yeah.
And if she knows anyone over there.
There's so much, like, the stuff that she, like, just what I've learned from her since I've known her. There's so much that, like, people aren't even ready for those conversations. It's heavy. It's a lot.
You also had Jill Stein show up, which I found interesting. So Assange sought asylum at the Ecuadorian embassy in London years ago because he faced extradition to Sweden after 2 women accused him of rape. The investigations were eventually dropped, right? Which was the whole reason he got snagged in UK, right?
Shout out to Fox News for getting that right. They did not call it charges. And almost all the time when mainstream media reports on this, they say that there were rape charges. There were never any charges. So shout out to, what's his name, Landon?
I think
the guy that wrote this.
Yes.
I followed him on Twitter. I told him thank you on Twitter. I'm grateful to anybody who's covering that shit. Yeah, Landon Mion.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think.
But shout out to him. He got that right. He did not call it charges, and that never happens. It's so rare for mainstream media to get that part of it right.
So multiple speakers at the rally in D.C. rallied against the corporate press for their lack of journalists at the event, particularly calling out the New York Times and the Guardian for being amongst the outlets to also publish the contents of the documents Assange had obtained. We need watchdog journalists, not lapdog journalists, two-time Green Party presidential candidate Jill Stein said. In addition to publishing war logs leaked to him by former U.S. Army soldier Chelsea Manning, who was convicted in 2013 of violations of the Espionage Act and other offenses, Assange's site published internal communications taken from the Democratic National Committee and then presidential candidate Hillary Clinton's campaign that shed light on the DNC's attempts to boost Clinton in the 2016 Democratic primary. Assange has been blamed for impacting Clinton's chances of winning the presidency in 2016. Yeah, that's somehow illegal. The WikiLeaks founder is wanted by U.S. authorities on 18 counts over the publication of classified documents that mention no one's name, right? Doesn't hurt anyone or like give their location.
They've admitted in court that they cannot find a single example of anybody facing any harm due to any of the leaks that came out.
Yeah.
Leaks.
Jade Star
They've
wanted
admitted
me
that
to
several times in court.
repeat about Kevin Smith. He funds or is part of or connected to a charity called the Gotham Foundation that's about human trafficking. I was just wondering if Eliza Blue knew about it.
We can ask her.
Yeah, and and the fact that he's connected to Weinstein along with that is weird. And I think he made the foundation before that stuff all took off too. Not mistaken, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, we have another member of the CIA, or ex-member of the CIA, I should say, John Kiriakou, who became a whistleblower, which exactly what Eliza Blue asked people to do. So we'll let him speak. Who's emceeing?
So me and Amber.
Okay.
We took turns. And I came in my chill leggings and my I am Julian Assange shirt, and Amber came in this like cute, adorable
sundress
dress and her hair done, and I'm
she's
like,
got pearls to clutch.
Yeah.
You know.
But that's like my entire wardrobe.
Eliza's in like Eddie Murphy's Raw outfit. You know.
Yeah. We were very oddly dressed.
Also, it annoys me so much. Someone could have fixed this rubber grommet on the thing. You could just pop that back on. You know? Like, I don't know why. My OCD just kills me on that.
I didn't even notice it. It's not like I look at the front of it.
Sound Reef.
Right?
Yeah, I don't have sound. I don't have sound on it.
No sound? No, here. Let's fix that. See, this is what I get for trying to be slick and turning off other times.
Under the Espionage Act. Thanks, everybody. Believe it or not, this is the first time in my life I've ever used a megaphone.
This cherry.
58 years. So I was on my way over here today, and I was driving, and I was on my way over here today, and I saw a sign that said, "Talking dog for sale, $20." I was intrigued, so I pulled over and went and knocked on the guy's door. I said, "I saw your sign. You have a talking dog for $20. Can I see it?" He said, "Sure." He takes me in to the house, and there's a dog there. I said, "Hello." The dog says, "Hello." I said, "My God, the dog actually talks." I said, "Well, tell me about yourself." The dog says, "I used to work for the CIA. They would send me into meetings, like with Bin Laden and stuff." I said, "I used to work for the CIA too." I said, "I never came close to Bin Laden." "Tell me more." He said, "I would go into these meetings, Bin Laden, Putin, Kim Jong-un, and then I would go back to CIA and I would report. I would report what they told me." I said, "That's amazing. I got to buy this dog." I said to the guy, "I'd like to buy the dog." He says, "Well, it's $20. I said, "Well, why is it so cheap?" And he says, "That dog's a liar. He's never done any of that stuff." But this is a theme, because everybody at the CIA is a liar. Everybody. The CIA told us that there was no torture program. That was a lie. The CIA told us that there was no archipelago of secret prisons all around the world. That was a lie. They told us that there was no international rendition, kidnapping program, where we go overseas and just snatch people off the streets or out of their homes. That was a lie. The CIA tells us today, in 2022, that they cannot even confirm the existence of a drone program. They're lying. Now, Mike Pompeo said on the campaign trail a couple of weeks ago that if and when Julian Assange is extradited to the Eastern District of Virginia, he will receive a fair trial. That's a lie. A fair trial is impossible for a bunch of reasons. Now, what Mike Pompeo didn't talk about is that he actively sought to murder Julian Assange, that he actively sought to kidnap Julian Assange and bring him surreptitiously back to the United States, probably to be killed. He didn't tell us that the CIA bugged the Ecuadorian embassy for audio and video so that they could spy on Julian Assange meeting with his attorneys and use the information against him in the United States. We can't believe anything that they say because they lie about everything. And they're clear about it. Again, Mike Pompeo was happy to go on TV and with a chuckle said, "We lie, we steal, we cheat. Ha ha ha. Isn't it great to be an American?" So it's up to us to be there for Julian Assange. God forbid that he is indeed extradited to the United States. A crowd like this has to be in front of that courthouse in Alexandria, Virginia. We have to be there every day doing our part. Thank you all for coming. I'm so happy to see so many friends and new friends. Hello and welcome to the FBI agents in the crowd today. Maybe you'll learn something from us, but we hope to see you there. Thank you.
Oh, good stuff from Mr. Kiyaku there. Yeah. At least the feds watching me find me funny. That's about all I got left for them, you know. So I hope they continue to find me funny. But
can I just also complain quickly that when somebody is in the middle of a speech and they've been forced to switch methods of audio options from a microphone to a megaphone, just let them finish their speech. Yeah. Don't jump in because the microphone suddenly started working. Don't interrupt. That person is they're trying to build to something. They're trying to give a speech. Just leave it alone. Let him finish his speech.
Yeah.
It bothered me tremendously twice.
I feel you.
In the middle of it. People are like yelling at him. The microphone works now. And it's like, just let him fucking finish. And then there was another time a guy like literally came up in front of him and like put the microphone in the thingy as John was still trying to give a speech. Like it was just frustrating. Like stop interrupting his speech. That's rude. Don't do it. Don't like approach him. You just walked in front of a bunch of cameras and interrupted a man's speech at an event. Don't do it. Don't do those things, please.
Well, and no, you're good. I mean, Kiaraku was kind of, and this Fox article kind of brings it back together with that you know, Assange, they were going to kill Assange essentially. They definitely had plans, the UK and us.
And he now has COVID.
Right. So the CIA has reportedly previously had plans to kill Assange over the publication of sensitive CIA hacking tools known as Vault 7. The agency said it suffered the largest data loss in CIA history after WikiLeaks published the materials. According to a September 2021 Yahoo report, the CIA during the Trump era had discussions at the highest level of the administration about plans to assassinate Assange in London. Following orders, then CIA Director Mike Pompeo, who also conveniently was taking pictures with what is it, the MEK, the thing in Iran, right? And the lady that leading the protests in Iran, Mike Pompeo also met with, FYI. The agency had drawn up kill sketches and options. The report further noted advanced plans to kidnap and rendition Assange. I don't know what they mean there, or if that's a typo.
Rendition?
Yeah.
Rendition's when you're like just yanked out, basically kidnapped and taken to a black site.
Gotcha. Hillary Clinton styled, essentially. The CIA made a political decision to charge him. Assange's legal team has appealed Britain's High Court ruling to authorize his extradition. So this also happened, Misty. I know you had some fun under this, and I figured I'd let you get some more bitching.
Yeah,
in.
anybody got clips? I would love to see some clips.
Still no clips, right?
Clips. I'm still asking.
That's what I was going to ask.
Seen my request for a clip.
You're gonna wait for the rest of your damn life.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I mean, listen, if you mention it in passing, even if it's just like a quick, like, hey, there's a rally happening.
Even if it was after the event, Misty will still take it.
Just covered it. Yes, I'm not like trying to be an asshole here. I'm genuinely thankful for that. And if you did, like, I would love to see those clips. I would love to retweet them. I would love to give you credit for doing it. Like, I'm not trying to be an asshole here. I genuinely appreciate literally everybody who helps us raise awareness for this, whether it's for our rallies or the rallies in London or just the case in general or whatever it is. Like, I am genuinely even people that I mean, I don't know why that's not clear. I've given Ryan Grimm credit numerous times. He hates me. I mean, we don't get along, but he does do decent Assange coverage from time to time. And I always try to thank him for doing that every single time.
With his stuff with Tara too. Same thing for me.
Legitimately asking, seriously, if somebody has the clips, I'm not going to go back. I don't have the time to go back and watch hours of Majority Report from the past month to find them maybe covering this for 3 to 5 seconds or whatever it was. That
we don't need an isolated clip either. Give us the clip that it's in.
You just tell me the show it's in, and then I can like fast forward through some shit.
Yeah, transcript search. Yeah,
Misty, you said something that I think was very key, and I think this is kind of my frustration with, well, people in general, but I think, not everyone on the left, but I think a lot of people on the left, is that you have to be so pure as far as, have to be aligned on every single issue. And then you can hate people and acknowledge the good work that they've done. Two can happen at the same time. We can shit on Ryan or anybody, in the space, especially if they have shit takes. But if they have a good take, it's okay to say they have a good take.
Or if they help me hype a rally that I've helped organize, and they are, then hey, thank you. Like, thanks for doing it. I know we don't get along, and I'm sure that it was a lot for you to do that and just like forget our beef and do what's right for the cause. I am legitimately appreciative. I would
glad
like
you
to
have one
thank
ideal.
You.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm you guys know I am an asshole. Like, I'm very upfront about that. I can be an asshole. I'm very abrasive. I'm blunt. I get all of that. I'm very loud. I understand. But if you genuinely try to help us raise awareness for this, help us boost our rally. I don't have the access to like Russell Brand or, mainstream press or like the BBC or, Jimmy Dore, Jimmy Dore is amazing and loyal and will always help. He's always helped us hype our events, but like we need lots of help. And so if you're willing to hype our event, then I would like to say I don't care, regardless of anything else. I don't care what you've called me. I don't care what you have said about me. I don't.
You can find our clip hyping the event on the channel. Just
Multiple
scroll back
clips.
there. Yeah, just in case you needed to look for those. Those are easy for people to send you. I
retweeted them. Andy would send them to me. I would retweet them. I try, and you guys saw. Sam Cedar's supporters are mad at me for asking for clips, and I'm like, you guys, they're like, nobody owes you clips. I'm not saying anybody owes me clips. I'm just saying I don't have time to go back and watch hours of Majority Report. And for like weeks now, I have been publicly saying, if you see somebody covering our rally, please send it to me. I would like to thank those people. I've said that numerous times. I don't have time to watch all the shows, you guys. I just don't. I barely have time to I don't even get to watch all of the people that I like because I just don't have that kind of time. I certainly don't have time to go back through hours
yogurt.
upon hours of TYT or Majority Report. I just don't. It's not shows I would watch anyways, and I'm not going to go back and watch hours of it to find, like I said, like a very short clip that they, maybe talked about the rally, or maybe they didn't. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not. You don't owe me any clips. I would just like one. So if I can say, hey, thank you. I don't know why that's.
And Jink, if you got a problem, I can get a ref and we can solve the problem.
Oh my God. His thing with Jimmy Dore is
30 minutes in a cage will fix this. I guarantee.
Unhinged.
Like,
guys, it's so ridiculous. He's a grown
It's so
ass
fun,
man.
isn't it? So
he's a grown
he replies, so did we. These jackasses don't watch the shows. They just take their talking points from morons like Jimmy Dore. If you can't tell Dore is a fraud, I feel terrible for you.
Jimmy Dore fucking covered it numerous times, and he helped us raise money, and he got people
clips
to come out
pull.
to the event.
Yeah,
very easy. And he had told me, and has told me on numerous occasions, anytime you organize something, let me know and I'll help you out. So that's the fraud.
Right.
I don't think so, buddy.
Speaking
of
Jimmy
Dore
Jam,
never called Julian Assange untrustworthy and alluded to the fact that he was probably working with the Russians. Jimmy Dore never did that. Jake, that was you.
In this video, Jink Uger, the pro-war union buster who took $24 million from right-wingers and DNC donors and featured revenge porn and upskirt pics of celebrities for money on his show, is smearing Julian Assange as a Trumper who cannot be trusted.
A brief reminder, WikiLeaks has a 100% record of accuracy. Cenk Uygur is a known paid propagandist. Who's
Isn't it crazy? Isn't it crazy? Let's see if people remember this video.
Obviously, it's hard to tell who's telling the truth here. But lately, I have to confess that WikiLeaks has not had an astounding record.
False. Okay, go on.
100% record of accuracy.
The way that Assange seems to be backing Donald Trump over and over and over again, it makes me very seriously question Assange.
Are your leaders that you put on a pedestal also terrible? That sucks.
Assange's efforts to actually be a journalist and not to be a partisan. And I get it. I get why he hates the
not
Democrats.
To be partisan.
They're trying to put him in prison.
As he's partisan. Okay.
Okay.
Right. But
at the same time,
so are Republicans. Let's be clear about that.
And now the Republicans.
Anna, you got to. Anna, we told you, Anna. Not again. You're going to get us in trouble again, Anna.
Are too, and they have been in the past. But it seems like Assange just picked a side. And look, it makes me question his reporting. And so
he can't even say it without
so that's the situation we're in now.
I know.
Who knows what an idiot he sounds
now
like
is he just leaking things that he gets, and no matter what, in which case I would respect that, or is he selectively leaking based on his political motives? Now that
I don't know, is Jink selectively reporting?
Yes.
Or is he fully
there's
reporting?
Zero evidence. People say that he didn't leak anything. There was nothing on Trump. He can only leak what he gets, y'all. He can only leak what's given to him. Find some shit on Trump and send it to him. He'll leak it. Trust me. Are you kidding? You think Julian Assange is going to turn that down? No. He's not going to turn that down. He's going to love that shit. In fact, they have DMs with him and Trump Jr. where Julian Assange is like, "Hey, you should give me your dad's taxes." You know what I mean? Like he's trying to get information. It's just fucking absurd. Jake's an idiot. He's a turd. He's not an idiot. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Yes.
But yeah, it's fuck that guy. I mean, seriously.
I agree. Normally I wouldn't cover, but I figured we would only spend so long on it anyway. But your event was great. So proud of you for pulling that together. I was proud of all the people. Yes, I was about to preface. And
Paula, Suzanne, Randy, Marty, Patricia, Bernadette, Chuck. I'm forgetting people. I knew I was going to forget, but you guys know who you are. Daniel, my good friend Daniel, Jonathan from DC. Lots of amazing people. And lots of amazing people put in many, 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 many hours of work. It was a lot of moving parts, very stressful, and it turned out really good. Best turnout we've ever had. And I'm really proud of it.
Well, keep us informed on what the next move is, as always.
I'm already brainstorming.
Yeah. Don't work yourself to death. And you always got a spot over here.
I've been chilling.
If you need to plug anything, if you just want to come on, whatever, it's available to you. Just let us know.
I know.
So, we also got the
you
Rock
guys give me
and
awards
Rumbles
behind my back.
I know, right? Assholes. Isn't that fun? It'll get mailed to you.
No.
You deserve it. You straight up deserve it. Like
Suzanne, by the way, Collin was there. Suzanne decided that when we went to the little after party thing where we did the Dan Cohen movie and all that stuff, that she was going to announce both Sabby's award, which shout out to Sabby.
Yes.
She's
also has an Indie Media Award.
Yeah.
herself.
And then Suzanne announced the Activism of the Year or whatever award.
Yeah. Like,
So
but seriously,
silly.
you
I'm going to put it
deserve
back there, though.
I
I'm gonna
always
put it back there so everybody can see it.
No, but I think Misty, like, I think you to me are a great. I know I'm gonna embarrass you, but
Yeah,
take
I
it
hate
for a
this shit.
second, please. But
Mhm.
no, but I think like I get frustrated with people who say they're gonna do things, but they don't have like the discipline in order to, and in order to kind of commit to something long term until something. Well, the hope of something happening, even you may not see in your lifetime. And I think, and I get it, people do get frustrated with that. Because obviously organizing is like you put in all this effort and you may not even get to see the payoff in your lifetime. But
yeah.
I think you've proved, and I think the argument that people are like, I know of you, are like, oh, you talk about one thing and that's it. Well, I'd rather you talk about one thing and be consistent on it than talk about multiple things and be like shitty on all of them. And I think
I do talk about multiple things.
right.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
A ridiculous criticism,
But
anyways.
I think that's what you're kind of known for is Assange. And I
For
think,
sure. Yeah, that's my focus. But I think, don't
think-
you want, like you just said, don't you want your activists to be like focused and passionate?
Yes.
To me, that's like a prerequisite, isn't it?
Right.
Right?
Right.
I
You would
think so,
that'd
too.
be like the top two things you need.
Right. And so I think, you are definitely deserving of that award,
Yeah.
that award, because you've been very, as long as I've known you, you've been very consistent,
I try.
on this, and I know it's hard, but I think, like doing this work, you don't get any praise at all, like it's lifeless. And oftentimes like people take advantage of you in that. But I think it's just, I think if India was here, you would just kind of say, look, we recognize what you're doing. It's hard what you're doing. But I think also it should be an encouragement to others, that you're capable of doing the same thing and we need more of it,
Absolutely.
for different
We do.
issues. So I think you're a great example of that. So I think you're definitely well deserving of it. And
your attitude about it is fucking like fresh air. It's so lovely.
right.
Like
it's and like we
it's
talked.
you give
Yeah.
if someone is for Assange, that's it. Great, you're good. Like
Welcome
Right.
aboard.
everything else
Right.
you can still criticize, but for that, cool. Like it allows you to like bridge divides that everyone shits on us for doing. Like
Like I don't care if you genuine, like you trash talk me, you hate me. I don't care. I mean, you could be like Geoff or Ryan Graham, people who have trashed my character publicly for
Mhm.
no reason, for years. You show up to an Assange rally, I will, like, no joke, walk up to you and then thank you for being there. I have no beef with you for that time period when we're at that event. It's not about me. It's not about my ego. It's not about you or your dumb beef or however you see me or what. Like that's completely not important. And that's to me, that seems like a no-brainer. I'm selfish, y'all. I would like to get Julian Assange out of prison. And if that means that I have to work with people that I don't otherwise enjoy, okay. Like, and I don't mean work with, like, people will say, oh, you want to allow like fascists into your organizing space. Well, first of all, fascists aren't going to stand for Julian Assange, so I don't really have to worry about that. Second of all, no, I'm very picky about who I organize with. I'm incredibly picky about who I allow into my organizing spaces, and even those that I organize with, I like there's different levels of like how much I trust you. You know what I mean? Like you have to be very wary of people when you're in this space. So no, I'm not organizing with everybody, but if you want to show up to an event, if you want to help raise awareness for this, if you want to like genuinely fight for the future of press freedom and free speech, then okay, let's do that together. Let's put everything else. Let's do that. Let's do that. I would like to get that shit done. Please.
I agree. But yeah, I think you're also, I know you called yourself an asshole. You're like one of the nicest people I've met in the space.
Well, I mean,
Like,
I'm
straight
perceived
up.
as kind of an asshole, and I understand
Which
that. I am very blunt.
You fight for the right reasons. So
brash.
like, you're nice to me.
But I understand
so
why I would be perceived. Yes, I'm nice to you.
Yeah.
Your experience is not everybody's. You know what I mean? Like I'm fully self-aware, Reef. I
I'd
understand.
hate to be an
that I
enemy of
am
Misty.
perceived as
That's what I've realized. And they should
I
all
get
fear
it.
you and be afraid.
No, I don't want people to fear me, but I mean, it's not really about that. But I get that I am, I get that I am perceived in a certain way by certain people. I am very blunt and upfront, and I'm not for everybody.
I'm here
and that's
for
okay.
it. So
nobody is for everybody, and I'm not for everybody.
And if anyone else is here for it, how do they find you? I know you got most of your links in the description. At Sarcasm Stardust, right? I think you got that right.
Yeah, as Sarcasm Stardust on the tweeters. I'm a prolific tweeter. I'm there all the time. I tweet about Julian Assange all the time. So if you would like to follow the case, it's a good place to do it. I'm already brainstorming for next ideas.
You have a couple of YouTube channels too, right?
Yeah, but I don't really use them anymore. I really am taking once I walked away from TNT a couple months ago. I was going through like a hellish couple of months. And I really just backed off of doing my own shows, other than I've done some visuals and stuff, mostly just to like update on the event though, really. But I really just backed away from doing, like, I'll do appearances. Like I did a shit ton of appearances to promote the rally and stuff. So I'll be on other people's shows, but I've really backed off of doing my own, and I may go back to it at some point. But it's been nice not having that additional workload. You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Dude, you were killing it at TNT. So like,
I mean, I went too hard for too long.
Yeah.
I went too hard for too long, you guys. I really did. I never had, like, there were rare days off between all of my stuff. So
if you ever need help, you know who to ask. We're over here. So anyway, I'll leave people with what I always leave people with. Labels are bad. Stay independent, everybody. Good night.
Good night. Good night, all. Thank you.